Hello, this is Janice Dixon. I'm back for another nighttime/bedtime reading, and I guess I should say bedtime reading because I'm posting them at 10 o'clock at night. This is all a part of a week-long birthday bash for my birthday, so thank you so much for joining me. I am looking forward to bringing you a reading from a different selection tonight. So today's special feature is Caramel Surprise, and it's actually the ebook, but this is a little printing of the short story that I make available when I go to events and I do signings. I bring this little short read that people actually really love. And I don't say actually, but they do. They love it because it's a quick coffee read. I always call my short stories kind of coffee reads. And Caramel Surprise is actually my first published short story. And I have to think about that because I had others, but they were mostly in competition, so I wouldn't technically consider them published. But this was my first published short story. It was a part of an anthology, which was Coffee Confessions. And man, I can't think of the year. I should have thought of that before. But that was a limited anthology. And I also have another one which will come up later in this series, another limited anthology. So Caramel Surprise was after the anthology was released and it was no longer available. I published it separately. And so I'm going to read a little bit from it. In Caramel Surprise, you find Sandra James, and she owns this coffee shop, Coffee Confessions, and honestly, she's just a woman on the move. She went to school, went to graduate school, opened up her coffee house, and it is a very vibrant business. But along the way, she lost herself a bit in that she was so focused on her career that she looks up now and she doesn't have much of a life. She isn't in a relationship. And in this story, I really was only looking at one question, and that question was, is she ready for love? And is she ready to accept whatever comes with it, right? Because if you're dating or you're open to a relationship, you have good, you have bad, you have indifferent, but you have to be ready for whatever comes and open up yourself to it. And that's what Caramel Surprise is about, is she ready? Because she feels like she has a great business, she has great friends. Is she ready to add this other element in a relationship? And so I will be reading actually the first chapter. I don't know if I will read the entire chapter because I didn't have it blocked off, but we will just start at the beginning and take it from there. This story is available for free, I believe. You have to look at the page because I don't want to get that wrong. So, chapter 1 of Caramel Surprise. And if you haven't done so already, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and subscribe to my newsletter, please. Thank you. Chapter 1. I give, she whispered to herself in resignation as she closed the doors to Coffee Confessions. Sandra James turned the key until she heard the click of the lock. She slid the keys into her pocket, grabbed both handles, and gave the door a good shake before allowing the dimly lit shop to consume her thoughts. She watched as the downtown scene outside the glass paint shop changed from highly paid professionals to easygoing partygoers. An attractive couple snuggled together strolling down the sidewalk caused her to pause mid-stride. She noticed the protective hold he had around the woman's waist and watched as his hand failed to grip her full hips. The intimacy and the way he held her made Sandra almost too embarrassed to watch. Her mind danced with the same questions that haunted her more often than not. Am I wrong to want the same type of affection in my life? Is it too much to want to share my personal time with another? She knew her home away from home was all-consuming, but she had a good staff and wonderful clientele, which meant she could make time for that special someone, if she could find someone worth giving her time to. Sandra continued walking and gave one parting look at the couple disappearing into the night, leaving a quiet yearning within her. She glanced at her watch, noticing the time. It was almost 11 o'clock. Out of nowhere, an unladylike yawn escaped. She tried to hide it behind the back of her hand as she looked from side to side, locking eyes with Bruce Daniels. They shared a gut-tightening laugh as she grabbed a damp towel and continued cleaning the tables. She would push her relationship woes to the side for now. Most nights, Bruce closed the shop with her. He was an up-and-coming producer who started working for her 5 years ago when he was a college student. Over the years, their relationship had morphed into a good friendship. Their conversations flowed when they found themselves alone. It was inevitable. What she found refreshing about their relationship was that there were no strings attached, strictly platonic. It was good for her spirit and nice to get to know, it was nice to get the thoughts of a handsome, eligible man. What do you give on, Sandy? Life or just tonight? Bruce said, casually perched on the edge of the table, legs crossed at the ankles. She lowered her body to the closest chair, thinking about his question, knowing she could hide nothing from him. She played with the with a lock of hair before pushing it behind her ear. The room stood quiet. As he waited, she heard the laughter and chatter of a small group. Uh, when I'm reading this, I'm seeing it, and so it makes it hard to read because, yes, so I will laugh. Don't judge me. Let's keep going. As he waited, she heard the laughter and chatter of a small crowd passing the shop. A light tap on the glass cut through the stillness. Sandra noticed a young woman in a midriff revealing ensemble staring openly at Bruce, giving him a finger wave. He nodded, sending the group into a fit of giggles. He focused again on Sandra, silently dismissing the young partygoers. He stood and held up a finger. Actually, hold that thought. What you drinking, Miss Lady? He said while lightly jogging to the service area. She turned in her chair and watched him get comfortable behind the counter. He stretched his arms at both sides and shook them as if relieving the tension. He then pushed back his sleeves. She was sure that he could handle the realms of the service counter with his eyes closed. She watched as he grabbed a couple of to-go cups and flipped on the espresso machine. I'll take a latte. Oh, come on, Sandy. Add a little something something to it. What about vanilla or almond? He suggested a couple of their many flavors to dress up her milk-filled coffee. Bruce shrugged his shoulders, giving her his best smile, showing all the pearl, sorry, showing all the pretty white teeth God gave him. His power of persuasion was not working. She shook her head and turned up her nose, resembling a 2-year-old refusing to eat spinach. He grabbed his chest as if heartbroken, and she leaned into the table laughing. How can you own the best coffee shop in Houston and still drink plain old lattes? You know I love coffee. Sandra folded the damp towel into a neat square. It's always been about the coffee. I love the smell, the taste, and the soothing way it goes down. She smiled at the thought. He threw up his hands in surrender. All right, latte it is. Bruce moved about, making their drinks. She wondered how long she could expect him to stay around. He, she, I'm sorry. He was her right-hand man, and she trusted him more than once with running the shop in her absence. She knew her role as his boss would end soon as his popularity in the music industry increased. Her little paychecks were mere chump change against the thousands he was receiving for his work with local artists. She could feel a sullen mood lingering over her. She would miss his zangy energy and the way he kept her laughing. I heard your latest song from Marquise on the radio today. What did you think? His head snapped up, waiting for her assessment. Sandra knew his growing popularity on the radio did not curb his anxiety, since he knew the music industry could be fickle. She thought his misgivings were ridiculous. However, parts of her understood, since she'd been there since they'd been there when she decided to open Coffee Confessions. Everyone thought she was foolish for not pursuing a corporate gig, but she was sold after working in the campus coffee shop, and while in graduate school, she began writing her business plan to open her own shop. Sandra loved connecting with people. She would sit back watching them relax while taking pleasure in drinking her coffee. It was like personally inviting people into your home. Life taught her more than once that anything and everything could be solved over a good cup of coffee. There you have it. I didn't finish chapter 1, but that's a good place to end. I hope that you have enjoyed this reading and that you will enjoy the daily deal of Caramel Surprise. If you have any comments, questions, put them below. Thank you again for joining me, and I will be back tomorrow night for another bedtime read. Have a fantastic day.